Hey guys, it's Chris. Mysterious deaths, unsolved vanishings, alien abductions, and more. Here are 10 of the creepiest unsolved mysteries of the century. Number 10. The Death of Elisa Lam. One of the frightening unsolved mysteries in recent memory is the death of a young college student in 2013 named Elisa Lam, who was found dead inside of a water tank at a hotel in Los Angeles. But here's what's so mysterious about her death. She had traveled to LA from Vancouver by herself, and then went missing straight from her hotel room almost immediately after her arrival. The last known location of Elisa was inside of an elevator, with the whole thing captured by the hotel security camera. In the camera footage, Elisa seems to be acting really strange, even pressing several buttons for different floors at once, then looking into the hallway cautiously before hiding in the corner of the elevator. It definitely appears she was being chased by someone. She eventually got out of the elevator, and that was the last time she was ever seen. Some people claim that she may have been on psychedelic drugs, but that seems pretty unlikely considering she was ultimately discovered naked inside the water tank of the hotel with her clothes, her room key, and some other belongings. But this doesn't seem like something anyone would do, even if they were intoxicated. There are no leads, nobody has any idea who did it, there has never been a motive that makes sense, and this mystery will likely never be solved. Number 9. Don Henry and Kevin Ives. Don Henry and Kevin Ives were barely 18 years old when they set out on August 23, 1987 to do a bit of night hunting in the woods near their homes in Arkansas. Just 4 hours after they left, they were spotted by the engineer of a cargo train. Where? Well, they were laying on the train tracks covered in a green tarp. One of the boys' rifles was lying beside them, and they were set up parallel on the tracks. The train tried to make an emergency stop, but it was too late, and both boys were run over and killed. According to the initial autopsy, the boys had smoked marijuana and were in a drug-induced coma when they were run over. However, the families of the boys said that they were not involved with any kind of illegal drugs. It was also highly improbable that they would lay down on the tracks and wouldn't hear the train coming. Kevin's family even hired a private investigator to see what was really going on. Thanks to the PI, a second autopsy was done that showed the boys may have already been dead before they were even hit by the train. Even stranger is that a similar case occurred in Oklahoma, in which 2 young men were found under similar circumstances laying on railroad tracks. There were no suspects in either case, other than a suspicious man who had allegedly been spotted wearing military fatigues in the vicinity of the murders. This man was never identified, and to this day, all 4 deaths are still a mystery. Number 8. Abducted by aliens. In the town of Pascagoula, Mississippi, about 50 years ago, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker went fishing on the Pascagoula River. While fishing, both men heard a sudden blast of noise and witnessed a UFO above them. According to Hickson, in an interview from 2000, the craft hovered about 30 or 40 feet above their heads, and then 3 beings who were not human and may have actually been robots abducted them. Both men claimed that they were held for around 30 minutes and examined with strange instruments before being released unharmed. Now, this is obviously one of those stories that people read and then simply pass on as nonsense, but there is some truth as to what happened. For example, after their supposed abduction, both men passed lie detector tests and were questioned under hypnosis, and they passed each of these tests with flying colors. This is strange primarily because even if one of them could pass the lie detector test, well, it's doubtful that both of them could. 45 years after the encounter, a woman named Maria Blair came forward to say that she was there that night and witnessed the abduction. There's no scientific way to prove if these 2 men were truly abducted by aliens, but there's also no way we can really disprove it. That is, until the aliens finally reveal themselves and tell us what happened. Hey, real quick, if you're new to the channel, I just want to say welcome. Give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for more videos just like this one. Number 7. The Boy in the Chimney. 18-year-old Joshua Maddox went missing in 2008 and was discovered 7 years later. He was found inside of a cabin just 2 blocks from his home, stuffed inside the chimney. To this day, nobody has any clue how Joshua got there. Joshua went on a walk near his house, and as we know, he never returned from that walk. Then in 2015, a man named Chuck Murphy was in the middle of demolishing his old wooden cabin when Joshua's body was found crammed inside the brickwork of his chimney. Chuck Murphy had no idea that the boy was in his chimney all those years, and the death was eventually labeled as an accident. But here's where things get even more strange. Even though the authorities claimed that Joshua probably tried to get into the house through the chimney, the owner of the house said that such a thing would have been impossible because there had been steel rebar and wire mesh at the entrance of the chimney to keep animals out. There would have been no way for the boy to get inside. Basically, Joshua had been stuffed into the chimney in the fetal position seemingly by magic or by human hands, and to this day, nobody has any idea what happened. Number 6. The DYATLOV Pass Incident. The DYATLOV Pass Incident is one of the greatest unsolved mysteries ever. So inexplicable that for the past 50 years, experts and scientists all over the world have been scratching their heads. 9 Russian hikers went missing while exploring the Ural Mountains between February 1st and 2nd in 1959. Their camp was eventually found and in a very weird condition. It appeared that the group of hikers had cut their way out of their tent into the dead of night and then run like wild people out into the snow despite not being dressed for cold temperatures. Many of their bodies were found with brutal injuries. Some of them had their eyes missing, and one man was even missing his tongue. Investigators claimed that some had died from hypothermia and others had died from one physical trauma or another. But the mystery here is that nobody could ever figure out or recreate the chain of events that caused them to cut their way out of their tents, flee into the wilderness, and then die such horrendous deaths. However, according to the Smithsonian Magazine, a group of scientists who recently published a paper in the journal Communications, Earth and Environment do have a theory. The scientists are claiming that the hikers probably got caught inside of an avalanche and that's why they ran out of their tents. But of course, this is just a theory. Avalanches don't gouge out people's eyes or rip out their tongues. And the truth is that there is no viable explanation for what happened to these hikers back in 1959. Number 5. The Sonic Cuba Attack. In December of 2016 in Cuba, upwards of 26 unexplained attacks on American and Canadian citizens occurred. Attacks that some claim were the direct result of a new secret sonic weapon. According to multiple news sources, no device or piece of equipment was ever discovered after the incident. But there's no denying that something very serious happened on the island nation. In late 2016, 26 diplomatic personnel in Cuba from the United States and Canada experienced hearing a strange grating noise coming from a specific direction. Some of the victims reported hearing a type of vibration or feeling pressure in their ears, kind of like driving with the window of your car down. The duration of the sonic attack was between 20 seconds and 30 minutes, and it happened to each diplomat either while in their home or in their hotel room. What's really remarkable is that the people nearby didn't report hearing a noise at all. Even though the incident happened back in 2016, it wasn't until August of 2017 that the individuals began experiencing health issues, including going deaf, losing their memory, becoming suddenly nauseous, and having possible neurological problems. The United States took it seriously. They actually removed non-essential personnel from Cuba and warned citizens not to travel there. Even President Donald Trump said to news reporters that he believed Cuba to be responsible. But what happened? The truth is that nobody knows. Number 4. D.B. Cooper. D.B. Cooper is without a doubt the most mysterious criminal mastermind in the past 100 years. In 1971, the man known as D.B. Cooper hijacked a plane traveling from Portland to Seattle and then parachuted out of it with ransom money. But the way it happened is incredible. The man first handed a note to a flight attendant saying that he had a bomb in his suitcase and that he was going to blow up the plane if he didn't get $200,000 in cash. That's worth about $1.2 million in today's money. Now keep in mind, this was back in the 70s. The flight landed in Seattle. D.B. Cooper allowed the 36 passengers to get off the plane, and nobody except the flight attendants and the informed authorities knew what was happening. D.B. Cooper sat in his chair sipping his drinks while holding the airplane hostage. The plane refueled, and the pilots were ordered to fly to Mexico City. The plane flew under 10,000 feet, and somewhere between Seattle and Reno, Cooper jumped out with his parachute and vanished. To this day, D.B. Cooper has never been found. The FBI looked at around 800 suspects. Some of the money was actually found several years later by a young boy who discovered over $5,000 in cash buried near the Columbia River, but D.B. Cooper's identity is still unknown. Number 3. The POLLOCK sisters. If you believe in reincarnation, you definitely need to know about the POLLOCK sisters. Jenna and Jacqueline Pollock were about 5 years apart in age. One of the sisters was 11 and the other was 6. Tragically, both girls died on May 5th of 1957 in a car accident. The deaths obviously devastated the parents, but then just 1 year later, on October 4th of 1958, the couple had a pair of identical twins. They named the twins Jillian and Jennifer, and it turned out that they were reincarnations of the original dead girls. It began when the twins were just 2 years old. They began asking for toys that had actually belonged to their sisters who were already deceased. There was no way that the twins could have known the toys existed, as the parents had already thrown them out, but the coincidences grew and grew. The twins liked the same things as their deceased sisters, the same food, clothing, the same songs, and they even knew the names of their dead sisters' friends. This would have been impossible as the family moved away immediately after the twins were born. In any case, there's no possible way to scientifically prove that the newly born twins were reincarnations of their dead sisters, but to this day, many people believe it to be true. Number 2. The USS Cyclops. The USS Cyclops is one of the greatest naval mysteries of the century, and definitely one of the creepiest. It was a giant ship that vanished without a trace in March of 1918. To make things even more mysterious, it disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. This boat was nearly 600 feet long and had a crew of over 300 people. According to an in-depth report from the History Channel, she'd been sailing since 1910 with no serious incidents, and in 1918 the ship left Brazil and set sail for Baltimore. The last message delivered from the ship stated, "Weather fair, all well." However, sometime immediately after that message, the ship vanished into thin air and was never seen again. It didn't even transmit an SOS. To this day, nobody knows why the ship vanished, or just what was going on in the Bermuda Triangle to cause these kinds of accidents. Number 1. The Toxic Woman. Our final creepy mystery for the day is the case of the toxic woman known as Gloria Ramirez, who somehow managed to exude a sickness that infected 24 staff in the emergency room where she was being treated. It happened in 1994, when paramedics wheeled a strange young woman into a general hospital in the California city of Riverside. The woman was pretty incoherent and didn't seem to know what was going on. Her blood pressure was plummeting, and her heart was beating so fast that its chambers were unable to fill with blood before they pumped, which is something that almost only happens in elderly people. The medical professionals also noticed Gloria was slick with some kind of oily substance that gave off the stench of garlic. After one of the nurses took a blood sample, the smell got really bad. It seemed that the woman's blood stank like ammonia. Just as staff members were realizing there was something horribly wrong with Gloria, they began to fall ill. The emergency room staff were being wheeled away from Gloria on gurneys as they fell one by one to an unknown sickness. It seemed that Gloria was toxic and she was infecting anyone who went near her. In the end, 5 workers required hospitalization, and at least one had to stay in the intensive care unit for about 2 weeks. Gloria Ramirez died later on after arriving at the hospital, and it's unclear what exactly was seeping out of her blood that made everyone so sick. Some claim it was a case of mass hysteria, but there was an investigation by Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory that claimed Ramirez had been self-administering treatment for pain using dimethyl sulfoxide, which then had a chemical reaction in her blood that caused her to be poisonous. However, this is just a theory. With Gloria Ramirez dead, nobody could even question her as to what kind of terrifying chemical agent was seeping out of her body. Thanks for watching. Do you have any theories about any of these unsolved mysteries? If so, let me know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos like this one.